Hey guys, welcome to Uber Theologian. I've changed call signs once again. No longer Camaro Theologian because I don't have the Camaro, and now I am Uber Theologian because not because I work for Uber. I'm not saying I work for Uber, just because I'm a great theologian, and also I happen to be delivering food. And I thought, as I'm delivering food, why not talk theology? And I'm telling you guys, I don't mean to brag or anything, but I'm probably the best food delivery guy I've ever seen. I do it better and I do it stronger and I do it faster than any of the other guys. I'm the $6 million theology Uber machine driving. Okay, let's talk about overstating apologetics. This is something that I as well wrote a blog about. You can see it on my Patreon or on my Credo House. I don't know if you go to my Patreon, I don't know if that's available to all people. That may only be available to members. You get a lot more if you're a member of a Patreon. But if you go to credohouse.org, there you will see it. The blog post on this, and it's called Overstating Apologetics. I got to turn on the air conditioner because it is very, very hot out here with the air on. But overstating apologetics. This has to do, and you guys know how much I like prolegomena. This stuff, I know it's a big word. I know I always talk about it and always use it. I'm not trying to be fancy. I'm not trying to be overly theological. I just think it's the most important. I just think it's the most important discipline in theology. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Soteriology, of course, many people would say soteriology is the most important because you're dealing with salvation. Some people would say Trinitarianism is the most important because you're dealing with the nature of God. But I think it's prolegomena, especially today, because prolegomena basically says, let's get on the same page first. We got to all be talking the same language. We got to all be approaching things from the right direction, or at least know where you're coming from. It deals with things like, what are your sources for theology? How do you interpret those sources? What is priority? How certain are you about things? All kinds of things to do with prolegomena. And this really has to do with prolegomena, this idea of overstating apologetics. And what I mean by that is this. I was watching, like I often do, some videos on YouTube. People will send me something, and it's a guy that's an apologist. And he does a great job. He really does. He's a very smart guy, a lot smarter than I am. But he does a great job defending the faith, and he goes to campuses and does this. But oftentimes I find myself cringing at some of the stuff that he says, because I feel like he discredits himself to a large part by just one thing. But only one thing. It doesn't take much to discredit you whenever you're talking theology. But this guy seems to discredit himself because whenever he's defending the faith, whenever he's defending issues of Christianity, he's absolutely certain about every issue. You know, it's not like there's any variance in his certitude, as you might call it, the how much you really do believe this is true. And there's so many things within our faith that we hold to more strongly, and some things we hold to less strongly. Some things that I'm really, really sure about, and some things I believe, but I'm a lot less sure about. I can make an argument for, but it's not a great argument. It's not always the best argument, especially like some other things that we can do. Whenever we talk about the existence of God, that is a really easy thing to have a high degree of certitude about. And in your apologetics, speak very firmly for like things like whenever you're talking about something can't come from nothing. That is something you can hold with a high degree of certitude because that's the way everything works. But then whenever it comes to other things, like say, and I know some of you might get mad at me for saying this, but I don't want you, I just want you to think about it. I don't hold to biblical inerrancy to the same degree as I hold to the existence of God. I believe the Bible, it doesn't have any errors. I believe that whenever no historical errors, no scientific errors, I believe whenever you're interpreting it correctly, that there are no errors in the Bible. That's what I happen to believe. Now, could I be wrong about this? Sure, I could. I mean, there may be some errors that I miss out on. I just don't think there are. I do that because I believe theologically, if God is perfect and he had he wrote the scripture. It's 100% man, 100% God. If it's 100% God, it will be perfect. So, I mean, that is kind of a deductive argument, but I could be wrong about it. There could be some historical errors in the scriptures. Whenever you're defending your faith, you got to know what ropes to hold very tightly and what ones to hold loosely, what ones to defend with all your might because the entire thing depends upon it and your faith depends upon it and you really are sure about this, and other things that don't really matter that much, things that don't affect the rest. It's not going to make it fall apart. And we often talk about that, or I often talk about the house of cards theology. A lot of people have a house of cards theology where everything they believe in theology is built in this intricate high building of cards, and if you take one card away, the entire thing falls apart. And that's the reason why I think some people start this way, is that they think that's the way they think. All the cards have to be perfect. Everything I believe, I have to believe with absolute certainty, complete certainty. Uh, Rene Descartes talked about an indubitable certainty, a certainty where you can't be wrong. And I like asking people this. I like asking even Christians this, whenever we're talking about some theological issue. I say, do you think you could be wrong about this? Or what's the best arguments against your position? And if they say they don't think they can be wrong, or they don't have any arguments against their position, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I lose a lot of trust in them. I mean, I don't think they're thinking things through well and honestly. I think it's kind of a self-defense mechanism that we have sometimes to hold the things all at the same degree of certitude, because we do have the house of cards theology. And again, this is an issue of prolegomena. There are some things that are non-negotiable. There's some things that form the very bedrock of our faith. And there are some things that we are much, much more sure about. Those two don't always go together, but they are very closely related. So, say, let's do one more example. Whenever I'm defending, say, the resurrection of Christ, I think we can have a high degree of certitude about that. Again, I mean, could I be wrong? Yes, I could. I mean, we all could be. You're not God. You're not God. God's the only one who is absolutely perfectly certain. He's the only one who knows that he's not wrong. Think about it this way. Does God believe in his own existence with more certitude than you believe in his existence? Just think about it. I mean, seriously, does God have more certitude about his own existence than you have about his existence? And if you don't say yes, I think you're missing the point. You see, I believe in the existence of God. I believe in the resurrection of Christ. And I have a very high, I mean, whenever it comes to the existence of God, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 is the highest a human can go, that'd be my only 10 probably. So I would believe in the existence of God with a certitude of a 10. Let's say God's the only 11. I think that's a good way to look at it. We can only get up to 10. God's the only one who can get to 11. But then whenever it comes to other things, it goes down the line. Whenever it comes to the resurrection of Christ, I believe in it at a 9, maybe an 8. And you may gasp and say, Michael, are you kidding? Are you saying that you're not that certain about the resurrection of Christ? No, you're missing the point. You're not understanding this. I have a very, very high degree of certainty about the resurrection of Christ, so much so that I put my entire life on the line with it. This is my life, that I believe in the resurrection of Christ. And I believe it with such degree, I have 100% commitment. But it doesn't mean I can't study more today and learn something that enlightens me and say, oh my gosh, like I did whenever I first decided to go into ministry, whenever I was 21 years old. And there was a light that went on my head that said, oh my gosh, this stuff I believe is really true. It's not just true, it's really true. I mean, because we believe some things are true. Sometimes we really believe they're true. And sometimes we really, really believe. You get what I'm saying? This high degree of certitude. And so I can believe today more strongly in the resurrection of Christ than I did yesterday. And if that is true, my certitude is not perfect. Therefore, it has to have room to grow. So you get what I'm saying? If I'm a 1 on something, Like, let's say I do believe in a pre-millennial rapture of Christ. So you're gasping right now. I do. I think I can defend it to a certain degree. Now, I'm not really certain about that. Now, I would say I'm a one on. That's something that I'm not going to die on a hill for. There's no reason to die on a hill for it, and plus, I'm not certain enough about it. I could most certainly be wrong, but at the same time, I'm still a one, so I still believe it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not a zero. I'm not vacillating, trying to figure out. This is something I'm not going to make decisions on. If you're at a one or above, then you believe it. It's just different degrees of certainty. Now, whenever we are defending the faith in apologetics, this is the thing that we have to express because nobody trusts us, and they shouldn't. I mean, I don't trust you. If I don't know you, I don't trust you. It's not automatically that you have some innocent until proven guilty or right until proven wrong. That's not the way we think, and we shouldn't think that way. We should think very critically that people, let's evaluate them. Let's evaluate their methodology. Let's evaluate their prolegomena. How are they approaching these things? And then we begin to build trust after a while. And so we have to understand that whoever we're talking to, we got to build trust with. And when we approach things with such a degree of certainty, like we do, when we write a paragraph and everything is in italics, imagine that, a paragraph where everything is in italics, nothing's in italics anymore. Really? I mean, isn't that true? It's just like you have those people who capitalize all their letters. And you're like, every single one of them, you're like, oh man, I can't take this. I can't take this all caps. I can't take this all emphasis. That's the same way whenever we're presenting our faith. It's exhausting and it's discrediting. And so we want to put an emphasis. We want to put the right words in italics in our theology, especially whenever we're defending the faith. People will see this and they will see you're a reasonable person and begin to hand over trust to you. Now you may say, Michael, I already have trust of all these people. And that may be true. You may already have the trust of your own congregation, the people who already believe and they want you to confirm their prejudice so they feel good about being around you and they feel good about themselves. But that's not what we're responsible to do. We're responsible to challenge people. We are in seeking the truth, not our prejudice. We are seeking God because we honor him and we understand because we're human and we're fallen, that we could be wrong. And we need to approach things in our apologetics. Don't overstate your apologetics. Don't put things in emphasis so much. Okay, guys, thank you for joining. We will be coming back later on with the Conversations with Tad. If you're subscribed to the YouTube and Facebook, I think we come on both of those, but Conversations with Tad, we're doing our third session of the discipleship program. And please go to my Patreon, support if you can. That'd be great. I would like to say, hey, listen, next time you get food delivered, get me. But you have to be lucky, man. You really do. You have to be lucky. So always be looking through your Ring camera or at the front door because I may show up. And if I do, and you catch me, stop me and I'll teach you some theology. See you later.